people are scared to do anything, so they stay within like a very rigid structure rather than stepping forward and trying maybe innovation or trying something different. I'm 12 years in the fitness industry, and there have been some dark times, particularly affected the fitness industry in a way that sometimes we don't actually acknowledge. We have a signature fragrance, and I think that is like very key. It's such a small thing, but it's actually a very memorable thing.
Welcome to the 5-Star Fitness Podcast. My name is Jack Thomas, co-founder of The Fit Guide, the global standard of fitness excellence. Now, this show is all about elevating the fitness industry through 5-star hospitality. And one way that we do that is to tell the stories behind the world's best fitness experience. And one such story, one such person is Bridge Hudson and XYZ, which is based in Hong Kong. It's one of the leading cycling studios and boutique fitness brands in the region. And this episode is in partnership with our friends at Ride High magazine, who will also be covering this interview as well and the insights that Bridge brings, and also Hapana as well. And I'm really excited to introduce Bridge Hudson to the show, one of the founding instructors at XYZ. And I want to start off with, Bridge, what happened in your life, either personally or professionally, that really made you feel ready to become a founding cycle instructor at XYZ?
Well, first off, thanks, Jack, for having me on the podcast. As we've chatted about, I love talking about fitness. I love talking about hospitality. So I'm super excited to be here today. At the time, 2013 is when I joined the team at XYZ. It's actually when we started here. And at the time, I'd been working in marketing and media. I'd been working kind of a corporate job for several years. And I was feeling just very, what's the word for it, unenthused about my career path and not super passionate. Yeah, exactly. Not super passionate about where I was going and just very listless and trying to find my direction. And so I had a friend who was a personal trainer. He suggested I get my NASM personal training certification while I was still working in my marketing job. And then through a series of events, I actually met the team who was opening XYZ a few months before they were going to open, and they were looking for one more instructor to join the team. I'd been doing spin. I've been a big fan of fitness classes. I've been a big fan of group fitness since 2005 is the first time I did a spin class. And so it was actually top on my list is actually becoming a spin instructor. So I think it was fate at the time that led us together. And so it really just was a perfect timing for me. I was leaving my marketing job and there was XYZ sitting there with a position open for me. So it gave me the opportunity to step into it. And at the time, I hadn't even really experienced the world of rhythmic cycling. I'd been more like a maybe more traditional spinning person, more RPM or those type of spin studios. But I have a background in music. I grew up playing music. I grew up as a very musical family. And rhythm is something that like really drives me. I'm a kid of the 90s. I love dance music. I love techno. I love like the way it makes you feel. And so when I combine those two things, rhythm and movement together, it just was like, it basically was like a light opened up from heaven and told me that this was your path forward. And so it was a perfect timing I think for me and also for XYZ as well.
That's awesome. It very much sounds like your calling. So if you meet someone at a party and they say, Bridge, what's XYZ all about? What do you tell them in kind of a 30-second or so elevator pitch?
I would say XYZ is we're really a sensory focused studio. It may not be totally obvious, but XYZ originally stood for Spin Your Senses with an X for the S. Okay. And it's since expanded to Experience Your Senses. So from the initial concept, from day one, it was all about hitting as many of those different sensory experiences as we could, from the visuals of it to the music to the scent of it. We've always had a signature fragrance that we have for the studio. And so it was just like a very 360-degree wellness experience. Today, we've grown into a 3-room concept offering not only rhythmic cycling, but also yoga, infrared heated movement classes, and recovery classes that focus on mobilization. And each room kind of has its own energy and purpose, but they all serve the same mission. And that's to move people physically, emotionally, and energetically. And I think like what's really at the core is really like community and connection. That's been kind of our driving focus and our driving factor from day one.
Awesome. It's sounds like a great sport. I've actually been, but it was a long time ago when you only had cycling. So really want to come to New York and check out your other concepts as well. And it's interesting that you mentioned scent, because at the Fit Guide, we have an evaluation process that goes through the whole member journey from start to finish. And we do have one for something that stimulates the extra sensory elements. And scent is one of them. And scent is very, very few studios have that. And it's something that is taken from hospitality, this recognizable special scent, not the scent from the members, of course, who've just finished their class, but like an actual special scent that's infused into the air. And I can't recall the percentage, but it's in the single digits of studios that do this. And it's really a sign that people are thinking about that extra step and that extra level. So interesting that you mentioned that, and it is included in one of our standards. Bridge, I want to ask you, I want you to explain to the listeners, the viewers, a sort of XYZ member journey from start to finish and how they should feel. You know, I love the way you described it as this experience. Like, what should they be feeling at each stage? And what are some of the little things that you do to build that experience?
I love this question because I think as professionals, fitness professionals, we kind of sometimes forget that first time journey into a studio. As a studio and as a brand, our first exposure to people starts right at the door as soon as the doors open, or the elevators here in Hong Kong as soon as the elevators open. And what we hope it opens with, or what it starts with, is a warm personal journey. So it isn't just checking you in, it's actually greeting you by name without any pressure or anything like that, but welcoming you into the community. And then if it's your first time, our front desk or customer service team should walk you through the studio, give you a thorough experience of what you're looking for, if you're there for spin, or if you're there for yoga or for movement, where you'll be going, where are the locker rooms, where are the washrooms, where are the water stations, what you should be expected to do, what time you should be walking into the room. Yeah. And then as you go into the classroom, the instructor should always introduce themselves and find the first timers. We have a coordinated effort from our customer service team to our instructors to identify where and who those first timers are. And then throughout the experience, for the first timer or newcomer in the class, the instructor should find those moments to celebrate you. This is one of my favorite things as an instructor myself, is celebrating those first timers, or celebrating those people who maybe have never tried spin before or yoga before. I love to find that connection, that personal moment. I can challenge them to try something they maybe are scared of, and then really celebrate them with the entire room together. We try to always celebrate those first timers at the start of the class, throughout the experience. And then at the end of the class, we encourage our instructors to stand at the studio door and high five or fist bump everybody as they leave the room. And it gives you that opportunity to see those first timers and ask them, how was your class? Did you have fun? Drink lots of water. Those are usually the things that I say to them after class. You get a moment if they have a question or an injury or anything like that that happened during the ride or the class that they're not sure about. And then to top it off, or to finish it off, they have a positive experience with the customer service team, where the customer service team is able to ask maybe how did it feel, maybe find what that newcomer is looking for, if the intensity was correct. Maybe they recommend another class that they could also enjoy, or maybe if the intensity was maybe too high or too low, they could recommend maybe a movement class, a yoga class. They could recommend something more intense. So having that knowledge from our customer service team to be able to service those newcomers as well is something that we always strive to provide for people who are first timers in our studio.
That's awesome. And you talk through many things that we look for at the Fit Guide. And it's sometimes these little things, these little moments, if you will, or maybe little steps of the process that actually have a big impact. And you mentioned there, like the front desk staff introducing the first timers to the coach. Now, it's such a powerful thing to do, because it gives the coach or the instructor then the opportunity to get to know them more, find out if they've done cycling before or how they're feeling. Whereas if that's not done, that first timer can sometimes get missed. Another one we look for is that the instructor has some kind of meaningful interaction or connection with everyone in the class. Now in cycling, it's an interesting one because it's quite difficult to do if you've got 40 people in the class. You can't really interact with every single person within that, say, 45-minute class, but you do get an opportunity at the door as they leave. And that's a real opportunity to just make eye contact. Well done. Great to see you. Haven't seen you here before. What's your name again? And you get that extra opportunity to just connect with people. And then finally, the part that I like is just the front desk staff afterwards. And the other half of this podcast is myself and Matt talking about things in hospitality that they do at hotels. And they always say in the top hotels to ask a question that's a little bit deeper than just how was your stay, right? If you ask something specific, like, was the intensity the right level for you? It's so much of a better question than how was the class? Oh, how was the class? Yeah, good, thanks. Done. You know, the conversation's kind of ended there. Very rarely does anyone go any deeper. So I really like how you kind of dig a little bit deeper by asking someone, oh, was it the right level of intensity for you? It just sparks a much better conversation. So really glad to hear that you're doing a lot of the things that we do look for. And again, these things often don't happen by mistake. They're done by design, right? So I'm sure you're teaching this to all of your instructors to have this being done consistently. Which takes us on to the next question. So you obviously have a very set member journey in your mind, how you want it to be delivered each time. How do you recruit and find the right people to deliver that consistent experience?
I think one of the major things that I look for and the things that I've learned is actually coachability and the reception of feedback. Personality is great, super important. It's really important to have the right characteristics. But if you're not open to feedback or you're not open to coachability, it's hard to fit people into the brand. So it's one of the very first things I look for, whether it's an instructor, whether it's a front desk team member, even the studio support team, the cleaners, etc. Can they take feedback? Can I go in and offer them some feedback? And then can they implement it without any sort of maybe resistance or ego that kind of gets in the way? I was thinking about this as far as like auditions go for instructors or like interviews go. And one of my favorite things to do when I audition instructors is to give them feedback and ask them to implement it right away and to see the reaction it has in people. Because some people, it's quite a, it's easy to implement for some people. They understand that, they flow with it. But you can see the people who maybe have some prickliness about them or maybe some resistance to something new or something different. And for me, we're a team. We work for no individual creates the success of the company. It's the entire experience altogether. So to have that coachability, that feedback, and then being able to integrate it all together, to me is my number one thing that I'm looking for in an employee.
Yeah, I like that. For me, feedback is a huge one, how you take feedback. And I think the interview process is a great opportunity to see. And also, I like to have them, I like the sound of having, give it a go now, let's try it. And it gives you an opportunity to either give a bit more feedback to help them improve or be like, yes, you've got it. That's awesome. Make sure you do that every time and your classes are going to be that little bit better. And I think it's a good chance after you've given some feedback to actually celebrate a win. So I really like that and we'll use that. In terms of systems, you alluded a little bit to training, but in terms of, say, systems, how does that support the whole team to deliver it consistently? Is the member journey quite closely mapped out, sort of roughly how it should be each time?
We are like a studio of SOPs, so standard operating procedures. We live by our SOPs, but they're not rigid. They're evolving, they change. I think even from day one, it's comforting to have a checklist, whether you're the front desk, whether you're an instructor, whether you are the cleaners, everybody needs a checklist to follow through. At the same time, it gives you structure, but we also allow freedom and flexibility within that. And then we also offer ongoing training and support. I'm always open to more feedback from my team, the people on the ground that are there day to day, whatever team member it is. If they have constructive feedback that has a actionable plan or a reason behind it, I'm super happy to change what we're doing and implement it and evolve and continue to flow and be able to provide something that provides the proper support for what they need and then the proper support for what the community needs as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think if you're going to give feedback, you've also got to be able to receive it, right, as a leader and a manager. So yeah, I'm a big believer in that for sure. And I think with checklists, it's interesting because I never want our team to feel as though we're sort of dumbing things down or we don't trust them. So I always say, like, I use checklists every single day for everything I do when I'm running the company, right? It just makes it so much easier. It makes sure you don't miss anything. And I find that when people come in, you almost have to sell them a little bit on why checklists are just so much better. It's not that we don't trust you, or it's not that you can't remember. It's just, it makes it so much more efficient and makes sure things don't slip through the net. And I think that's kind of an important part of that sort of onboarding process. You've alluded again to some of the little things that you do as a leader, and it sounds great. Are there any other, I guess, tips for leaders or people that want to become managers of instructors and coaches, or little things that you do to inspire your team?
I try to really lean on like vulnerability and authenticity. I'm a human. I try to teach my team that I'm a human. I will make mistakes. I really will. But it's the not being scared to make mistakes, being able to step forward, making a decision, owning that decision, and then learning from that decision going forward. So being vulnerable and open, but at the same time, really, like, I love this expression of failing forward or failing up, of like, okay, let's make a mistake and let's go for it. Because so often I find people are scared to do anything. So they stay within like a very rigid structure rather than stepping forward and trying maybe innovation or trying something different. And as a leader, that's what you have to do, is you have to put yourself out there, and then you have to not be scared to make a mistake. And when you make a mistake, you turn around and you own it. And I find that my team actually respects me quite a bit. And it gets the buy-in of the entire team, because we're all in this human experience together of stumbling forward in a way that helps us all grow together.
Yeah, it's such a strong value to have, and it does sort of set the expectation that, hey, I'm not going to be perfect every time. I'm going to get things wrong. And I think when I'm going to try different things and they might not all work. And when you do mess up, you kind of put your hands up. And I think that does build a lot of trust amongst the team as well, for sure. Awesome. Bridge, what brands from health and fitness inspire you? It could be other boutique brands. It could be even outside of necessarily sort of fitness. But what brands do you look at and just think, yeah, wow, we can learn something from them?
I mean, definitely in our early days, we really looked to SoulCycle a lot, to their, especially the early days of SoulCycle, the early days of how they built the brand from the 1 studio to the 2 studios, 3 studios, 5 studios, and what they were doing to create an entire experience. It wasn't just check in, check out. It wasn't just do your workout, leave. It was an entire experience that continued to evolve and change. So I always looked at that as one of our major inspirations. I also really admired the early kind of like CrossFit models of like the early 2010s, of how community focused they were. I always noticed like how strong the community was. I'm not necessarily a big CrossFitter or anything, but I have done some CrossFit classes, and I noticed how they would use each other's names and really make it personal and make it like a very like individual experience with a group. And so it keeps drawing people back because it's actually authentic. And I found kind of that same thing. So those were kind of some of my big inspirations of like community focused brands and community focused communities that continue to grow with the members and with the brand as well.
Two great examples, because they've just had such an impact on fitness. Whatever space of fitness that you're in, SoulCycle and CrossFit have had an impact. So I'm exactly the same with CrossFit. It's kind of my space, but I don't go quite that far in terms of the intensity, let's say, of the training or some of the movements. Visited CrossFit boxes, never done it regularly. But man, what they did for community in fitness has really changed the industry forever. Bringing in people that had never really done strength training before, just like buying into it so much and sort of finding their tribe and their family there. So yeah, I think every fitness brand can really learn a lot from them. It's a great example. And Bridge, do you look to any other industries to get inspiration outside of fitness? And if so, what have you learned?
Definitely. We're always looking at hospitality as one of our biggest inspirations. We're looking at like big, either hospitality brands like Mandarin Oriental or the W, and how they provide the service, how they greet their guests, how they treat their guests, how you feel when you walk into those environments. For myself personally, I have a background in customer service. I used to work for a luxury retailer in Canada called Holt Renfrew. It's kind of like the Fifth Avenue or equivalent of, or I don't know what it would be in the UK, but Harvey Nichols or something like that, a luxury brand. And the way that we profiled our clients was that we got to know them from day one, and that every single client carried the same value, regardless if it was their first time interacting with us or their 50th time. And so we tried to treat every single client as if they were already part of the community. And that kind of experience helped to draw people in, even if we were maybe an aspirational brand, or maybe we were a luxury brand that they maybe didn't feel like they were totally part of that community. That welcoming attitude towards them brought them in right away. And transferring that into fitness is such a powerful tool, because so many people are apprehensive about getting into fitness. They're uncomfortable or shy or not very confident. And when you approach them as if they're already part of the community, that guard, that like anxiety, you can just watch it. You can physically watch it.
Yeah.
And it's such a powerful thing. And then to see them get excited about it and to become, I don't know, experiencing something new is quite a powerful thing. So using those principles from maybe hospitality or luxury retail and bringing that into in a really powerful tool for us.
That's awesome. I mean, that's really what the Fit Guide is about, and certainly this podcast as well. And I love speaking to people from different industries. We had Ivana Bruich from Storm Cycling, and she worked at Emirates. She was talking about some of the things that they did at Emirates that she took into her cycling studio. Just interested, Bridget, is there anything else that sticks out from your luxury retail background? Just some of the little things that they taught you to do, or that you picked up that would help you connect with clients that you could sort of perhaps bring into a fitness setting?
We did, like at whole run through, we did a full clienteling binder. So I would fill out, like, say you came in and shopped with me, I would write down your name, I would write down what you bought, but I would also write down, okay, Jack has, not to assume, a wife and 3 kids and 2 dogs and whatever else. What other information I could gather about you, and how that translates into maybe the retail experience. Now, to take that into fitness, it's the same thing as like, okay, let me ask a couple of questions about you. Let me get to know you a little bit more so I could understand, okay, Jack doesn't like to come on the evenings because he's always doing A, B, C, D, but he's always a 10 a.m. person or something like that. So it allows me as a customer service or fitness offering to find the right thing for you, and then to also provide the right service that meets the community as well, rather than trying to find the service first and have the community match up. We find the community and then we match the service to that community. So that kind of clienteling, that kind of like really getting to know our clients. I think at XYZ, and to be honest, from all the places I've worked around the world in the many different countries and continents, our community is so strong. And I think that's part of why it is because we've asked those questions and we've connected to people on that level. And so that, for lack of a better word, that clienteling experience and really wanting to get to know your clients in that way has been a really powerful tool for us.
That's awesome. And you won't know this, Bridge, but me and Matt are going to be putting out a lot of episodes on his background in hospitality. And we've had many conversations around that. And that speaks so closely to what the absolute top hospitality brands do, whether it's a mentor client profile that they build or actually sharing notes on things that the clients like. And there's 2 good things about that. One is you have to ask questions and get to know them a little bit, and that makes people feel special. 2, it allows you to deliver that personalized service down the line, whether that's within that conversation, perhaps at the end, or it could be the next day when someone else is serving them in the experience. So I absolutely love that. And I think if studios were to do something like that, share information, it A, encourages them to ask the questions, and B, encourages them to deliver this incredible 5-star experience, which isn't always done in the fitness industry. So that is awesome and speaks very closely to what we're doing. I want to shift the tone a little bit, because it's not all rosy, the entrepreneurial journey or the managerial journey for sure. So this always gets some interesting responses. Can you tell us about a difficult time in your journey? And that could be at XYZ, or it could be another one that you'd like to share, and how you overcame it.
I mean, there's a lot. I'm 12 years in the fitness industry, and especially with COVID and a few other things, there have been some dark times. I would say for me, COVID, I think, was kind of the eye-opening experience for us as an industry, but
And
also in
Hong
Hong
Kong especially, right? Yeah.
Kong. I think it particularly affected the fitness industry in a way that sometimes we don't actually acknowledge, we don't
Yeah.
actually talk about. And it caused a lot of, at least for me personally, caused a lot of anxiety and caused a lot of like trepidation about what is the future of this industry.
Yeah.
If so quickly it can just like turn on a dime pretty much, and you don't have a job almost. Like that's what happened to me is like within a couple of days you had no income. And so I think like that was a pretty dark and kind of scary time throughout it. It was really interesting to see the innovation that happened and that we were able to achieve as an industry and as a community together, whether that was online classes, outdoor classes, rooftop classes, run clubs, all these different variations. For us in Hong Kong, our restrictions for COVID didn't actually lift until February 2023. So we're
And you were
only
late.
we're only 2 years out of that
Wow.
restrictions. And so building back up from that has been a hustle, a grind for sure. But it's also provided opportunities to expand from just maybe spinning or these other things to find what is it that it's driving people to leave their home and come in here and be there with you. And it's that community and it's that togetherness that you can't get from a digital platform. And so to have that experience and then to see that connection that drives us was scary and fulfilling at the same time in the end.
Yeah, it very much mirrors the journey that I went through in terms of sort of anxiety and being unsure of the future and everything else. And I did believe that in real life experiences would come back strong, and they really have. I think if anything, it's really made us realize that it's just not the same doing it digitally. It's great if you need it. It's an awesome thing to have. Obviously, it was great through those times and we had no option to go in, but nothing replaces going in and seeing people face to face. And I honestly don't think it ever will. And it's nice to see that what I thought would be the case has been, and that we kind of couldn't really wait to come back when we were ready. Hong Kong had a difficult journey, I know, so glad to hear that you guys are picking things up and things have been going well since then, for sure. You talked a little bit about, you know, feedback and as a manager and putting your hands up when things don't go so well. Can you tell us about a time when you did mess up, a little bit of a failure, and you know how that's been important in your journey and what you've learned?
I think without getting too much into specifics, but I think that there's moments sometimes when you listen to the wrong feedback, and it's really important. I'm really always inspired by Brene Brown. Has actually been a very big inspiration for me outside of fitness, but she talks about how, it's a quote, but she talks about how like it's important that we listen to the feedback from the right people. So it's easy to listen to, you know, the consultants or whoever's coming in, McKinsey or whoever's been hired to come in and analyze your business. But if they're not in the arena fighting with you, if they're not on the ground fighting with you, sometimes you can be chasing something that's not even achievable or not even relative to what we're doing. And I think that that's happened to us as a company before, is we're chasing something that somebody has suggested without actually having knowledge for what we're doing. So it's important to take that feedback from the right people and then be willing to trust those people, the right sources that are in that journey together with you.
Yeah, I really agree. I think with feedback, it's great to have. You've got to be truly, genuinely open to it. But there is also a time to think, okay, you know, I've really taken that on board. I've discussed it with the team, and I just don't think it's quite right for us. You can sometimes be a bit too sensitive to feedback, and you can kind of panic when you get sort of constructive or negative feedback. But it's just good to, as long as you're genuinely taking it on board and really reflecting on it and really discussing it with everyone, as long as you're doing that, you're not always going to necessarily sort of run with it. And I've been stuck in that trap before as well. Kind of too many voices, too many cooks spoiling things. And it can not always lead to the best of places. Okay, awesome. We look at technology as part of the journey as well. You, of course, use the software from our partners, Hapana. Can you tell us a little bit about how you use technology to enhance the journey, or how you perhaps use it in the back end as well?
I think working with Hapana, one of my favorite things that we've been able to implement is the challenges. So monthly challenges and engaging people in a way that is keeps them captivated, not only when they're at the studio, but also keeps them engaged when they're at home, or helps them to understand that wellness and health is a full 360-degree experience. I also think that finding the technology that makes it easy for people to be part of the community. So I really love not only the challenge aspect of Hapana, but I also love the added, they have some features on there that you can add in videos, you can add in recipes, you can add in blogs. You can really like make it quite an expansive experience for people, so that the app or the software becomes an enhancement to what you're doing in the studio. And that's what we're always looking for in technology, is that it's an enhancement to what we're doing. It brings something more to the experience rather than just a click and book. It actually offers you, as a client or as a studio, it offers you something more.
That's really cool, because through the Fit Guide, we look at two different things. One is that the basics are handled, such as you get an email once you book the workout and it explains the late cancellation policies, and you have a booking app and things like that. But also we have standards for just going that little bit further and actually having technology that really does enhance the experience beyond just the basics. So that's cool to hear you've been using those features from Hapana. I want to talk about your proudest achievement. Let's say XYZ. We'll keep it at XYZ rather than maybe some achievements outside. So what's in your, is it 13 years, XYZ? 13 years on and off, right?
12 years. We're 12 years.
Okay, 12 years. What's been your proudest achievement during those 12 years?
I think really, I was one of the founding instructors. As I was here for about 4 or 5 years. I left for the middle section of there. And then I came back in 2023, right as we got out of those COVID restrictions. And at the time, it was a little bit bleak, to be honest, as far as the company goes, as far as where we were as a revenue and what we're able to do. And it was, I would say, dark days for sure. And being able to turn that around and being able to make some tough decisions, but also some extremely rewarding decisions as far as what we would offer our community, speaking with the community as far as the clients go, but also for the instructors as well, and integrating that together and being able to be the driving force behind that. And being able to come back and really turn us around from, I use the analogy of a ship all the time when I talk about XYZ, but a ship that was taking on a lot of water in a way that was not sustainable and would not have been able to keep us afloat. And to be able to go in and plug up those holes and to change things around and change the direction, I'm extremely proud of that. It's honestly my biggest career achievement and one of the proudest things I've done in my career. And so I'm the captain on it. There's a whole bunch of different people who are all part of that. I didn't do that all on my own, but to have that all together and to be able to steer the ship together, and then to be able to see the success we've had this year has been, definitely my proudest achievement.
Yeah, nice one, Bridge. I'm proud of you as well. It really is. It was a unique challenge, really, in a very, very difficult market. You know, Bangkok was tough. Hong Kong was even tougher for sure. And many, of course, didn't make it. And I think you sum it up so well. Everyone needs to be on board with that. You need someone really driving it who's prepared to make some tough decisions that might not always be popular and might be hard to make and to implement, but they need to be done for everyone within the team and within the company. So yeah, well done on that. And I'm really happy to hear that, you know, it has turned around, and we're definitely seeing brighter futures ahead for the fitness industry in both Bangkok and Hong Kong. So great work. Bridge, we're going to finish up with quick fire round. So maximum a minute. You can take less if you want. I'm going to keep you honest, so I'll do like a 10-second countdown if we get to a minute. But quick fire answers, maybe the first thing that pops into your head. So first of all, looking back at your journey within the fitness industry, what's one thing that you would do differently?
One thing I would do differently is I wish I would have been, to be honest, more open with my boss. More like have better communication with my owner here, and more clear between us. We had maybe some miscommunications or some things years ago that it took us a couple of years to work out. And at the time, if both of us would have sat down and had an authentic communication, it would have actually cleared things up a lot quicker.
Yeah, I love that. Communication is so important in the smooth running of a company. Absolutely. What's a small detail in XYZ's experience that most people overlook but makes a huge difference?
I think you mentioned it before, but I'm going to say it again, is the scent. I'm really, my background, I actually worked in fragrances before, so I'm quite obsessed with scent. And that was number one on Belinda's list. My boss, my owner, was that we have a signature fragrance. And I think that is like very key. It's such a small thing, but it's actually a very
Yeah,
memorable thing. So that's what I would say.
I love that. And very quickly, Bridge, how do you do it? Is it like a diffuser that kind of releases it into
We have
the areas?
several diffusers around the entire studio. Yeah.
Okay, nice. I like it. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who wants to create something special and impactful in the fitness industry that you might not have had a chance to talk about yet?
I would say something that's like quite special and impactful. You don't always think of is actually the emotional journey that people have. They'll remember their workout, but they'll actually really remember how they feel. That's like number one, is the feeling you have when you either walk into a place or when you leave a place or during the entire experience. I think sometimes we kind of jump past that and we get into the physical aspect, or we get into this or that, and we forget that it's actually an emotional journey for people to show up.
Yeah, love it. What's the best advice you've ever received?
I love this one. Is my Soul Cycle trainer, one of my trainers when I worked at Soul Cycle, is protect your energy. And it's about, we're in a very giving industry. We're really giving out a lot all the time, and you can get really drained, and you can really kind of wear yourself down. And so really taking that time to protect yourself and finding those little practices that protect who you are and kind of remind who you are is one of the best advice I've ever had.
I love that. And my background is as a coach as well. That's how I got in the industry. And I can certainly relate. And if you do that, you can impact more people, right? For longer, for more years, I think, if you do that. I love it. Never heard it quite put like that. That's awesome. And what's the worst advice you've ever received?
That's a good question. I would say, I mean, this is kind of a mixed one, but when people say don't take it personally, I know that it's a personal experience, a professional experience, but that disconnect is so easy for people sometimes to not actually have a personal journey. So for me, I like to make it personal. I like to make it authentic. I like to actually see who you are. And I like for you as a client to see who I am. And let's have a real human experience rather than pretending it's something other than that. And so like, let's deal with the reality and deal in the authenticity of what we're doing. And at the same time, holding space for those moments of vulnerability and those moments of humanity.
Love it. Can you think of a time in your life when you received delightful hospitality, whether that's sort of personally or professionally, and how did it make you feel?
To think of a specific example off the top of my head, I mean, I had a really good experience actually flying with Cathay Pacific, and I was flying home for my grandmother's funeral, and I went and spoke with the gate agent and just asked for a seat change. Very something, not an upgrade. I wasn't asking to get into business or anything, just to move to the aisle so I could have a little bit of freedom because I was feeling quite anxious. And within a few minutes, they were able to accommodate me, but they did it in a way that was so empathetic and it was so caring for what I was going through that it actually made me feel really seen and really cared for, from not just the gate agents, but also the flight attendants and the entire experience. I don't know if they all knew what was going on with me and I wasn't like emotionally upset, but it really endeared me to the brand. Extreme, like it kept me as a loyal Cathay Pacific client for almost a decade now.
That's awesome. Maybe they did share the information, maybe as you were saying, perhaps just so that they could give you the best service possible. And I think it's those moments when you really have that special connection, you know, and people really go above and beyond, that can really have a huge impact on you. And that's really what the very best hospitality is about. Finally, Bridge, if you could embed one principle into the DNA of every fitness club and experience, what would it be? One thing that you wish every instructor in studio was doing that maybe they're not.
I think like one thing I wish everybody kind of understood was that the experience is the product. The entire experience from the moment you touch the brand, whether it's digitally, whether it's you're walking through the door, all of that is the product. I think sometimes, especially coming from an instructor background, you can forget that. And you can think that the experience is just what they do in the room. But actually the experience is every single touch point that the person has with the brand, and how important all of those little touch points are from the moment the person experiences the brand, whether it's through WhatsApp or social media or through a friend, etc., to when they walk into the door, how they're greeted, how they feel, to how they experience the class, and then also how was their experience after the class. All of that matters, and all of that is part of the brand.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a fantastic way to finish. Every single touch point within the experience contributes to what that brand is and how it feels to the member. Perfect place to finish. Bridge, if someone's in Hong Kong and they want to check out XYZ, or maybe they're not and they want to find out more about it, where are the best places to go?
You can check us out online. We're at yourxyz.com. That's youarexyz.com. You can check us out online, social media, yourxyz at Instagram, or you can find us. We're right in Central. It's the heart of Hong Kong, 29 Queens Road Central. You can come find us there as well.
That's awesome. And it's been really cool through the episodes we've done so far, the interviews we've had, to just hear how it's no mistake that the very best brands in fitness are delivering great experiences time after time, and drawing on these little things from other industries, experiences they've had, to really make sure the member experience, the people in front of you, is great every time, in 5 stars. So thank you for sharing, Bridge. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And next time in Hong Kong, I'll definitely come to XYZ for sure. Thank you for joining.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Jack.